Good evening and welcome to Literature in 60 Minutes. I'm Zandile Pooe and I will be your host this evening. This week's topic is young writers, and I have a young, ambitious, exciting author who has one title under his authorship currently, but I believe there's more in the works. His book is titled Bound, and his name is Divhani Mulaudzi. And welcome, Divhani. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me here, Zandi. Yeah, appreciate you having me here, and I'm looking forward to the interview.
No, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. But let's get right into it. And you can just tell us, your book's title is Bound. And I find that to be quite a curious title. It's like, what? Bound by what? So can you please maybe share with our audience what led you to choose that title?
Initially it was called The Trend, because I was trying to get into like the trades of my life and the cycles that I've been going through, just the shortfalls in general. And then after I'd written like 3 chapters, I sent it to my peers, just for, like that kind of friend-on-friend review. And then one of them came back, Malcolm, and he's like, yo, man, your story is proper, and I really think it has potential to be successful. But the title itself, like I feel like you can come up with something better, something catchy. And at the time, I just kind of disregarded it, and I felt, this is like a proper title, man. What are you talking about? And yeah, Malcolm was like, he was still persistent every time he saw me, and that was like in the back of my head, and when I went home, like during some period to rework on it, on the manuscript, I actually started to think more about changing the title. And Bound just hit me like a ton of bricks while I was just like, walking around the garden one morning. I know it sounds fictional, but then it really just did. And I just thought of it. I'm like, okay, yeah, Bound. And then it sounded ambiguous because it relates to, first, bound to happen, as in, something is bound to happen, and you can't evade it, you cannot avoid it or dodge it, and that relates to the events that were like happening in my life or were bound to happen in my life. And then on the other side of it, it just it's bound as in being like held or constrained, bound in my own chains, in my own circumstances, in my own situations, or whatever circumstances that I found myself in, so that's the ambiguity. So that's why I went with that title, because it just described a whole lot about the book and about my life thus far.
Oh, okay. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Yeah. But now the book really talks about your journey into tertiary and your journey through tertiary. So you went to one of the most prestigious universities in this country. So how did you find the transition period from your high school time, your time in your province where you grew up, and moving to the southern part of the country? Like, just take us through that.
Oh, yeah, that was also a very interesting time, because when I got to matric, I was just like, I never thought I'd go to Stellenbosch. I didn't even think Stellenbosch, like I didn't even know it existed, to be honest, as part of South Africa, until I was going through university brochures. And then, I initially wanted to go to UP, University of Pretoria, or VET, or the ones in Joburg, the regular ones, from a kid growing up in Venda, basically. And so I just applied to Stellenbosch as one of them, because I just saw its beauty from like a brochure. And then what happened was that all the universities that were my preferred, they did not get back to me on time, like, once I got my matric results. And Stellenbosch happened to be the only one whose like admin was like proper, like they were like responsive, they were giving me feedback, they were checking up on me, and everything seemed like orderly with them. So I just decided, I'm like, it's either you're going to spend another year here at home if these people don't come back to you from your preferred university, or you just take a chance and you go to this unknown place and, just go see what it's all about, and that's basically what I did, because like I felt like from my surrounding, I was always surrounded like by, you know, my people, black people. It's the village, you know, that simple lifestyle, and now having to make a transition from that, you know, from that mentality, like just going out there and being adventurous like that. It actually like just opened up a new door to me, a new door of exposure. So I actually came here in 2010 at Stellenbosch University, and it was just a different environment for me overall, because yeah, I was like, you know, awestricken as soon as I got there. You know, I found it like a complete contradiction from what I'm used to. Like I was now surrounded by like 90% of white people, like for the first time in my life.
Wow.
You know, and I had to adapt and adjust, and you know, like it was still like predominantly Afrikaans from the, you know, like boards that you would find there giving you directions.
Yeah.
And I just had to find my way through that. Like I had to adapt quickly and learn as quickly as I could. And yeah, just, you know, adapt or die basically. So that's my transition, you know, to you know, one of the prestigious universities in South Africa. Yeah.
And I would believe, because you talk so much about your experiences there. For instance, you share extensively about the financial challenges that you had at the university, as well as, I think, you know, proceeding that led you to also, I think, skip a year or two of school. What kind of experiences did you have? Let's start there, as well as what wisdom maybe can you share with people who are currently experiencing the same thing?
I'd say, to start off with, the challenge that I actually faced was, firstly, like to find love for what I was doing, you know, in terms of like the course, because most of my classes were in Afrikaans, and that really put me off, like, you know, because I'd go to class and then I'd come out and I'd feel like I didn't really acquire anything, so I wouldn't attend as much, and that kind of like gave me reluctance in terms of like my studies, you know, and like just really loving what I was doing. So that also led to me finding another venture, which was like slam poetry, like that they had at the university and all of that. And so now I fell in love with, like, you know, the arts, and I was passionate more about it. And then now my priority, which was to study, it came second to my passion, which was to like write and make music and like become this, you know, artistic person. And that led me to focus less on my studies. And I'd say I'm the one predominantly who put myself in a financial constraint, because my parents had planned for it, you know, until my final year. But then when I got to my final year, I had to carry on, you know, a few modules. So by the time when I got to my final, I could no longer proceed, you know. So, and I had this big debt, so I had to like kind of now see what to do next, and it was like to go find a job, you know, and that's what I actually did. And I left Stellenbosch to go to Johannesburg to try to find a job so that I can pay the university back and complete my studies. And that's basically like how it played out. And I'll just say like the biggest, which is like somehow like what a lot of people are facing. And what I can say to people going through that is that, you know, just make sure you prioritize like what you're there for, you know, first and foremost. And then like while you're still doing it, I feel like I kind of like, I mismanaged it, if like, you know, for lack of a better term. But if you're there for a short period of time, then you get enough time to do whatever you love after, you know. You can dive into that after, into other passions after, unlike prolonging it and then you don't really complete both, you know. So that's like what I would tell them. And like if you are actually going through financial constraints, maybe it might not be because of your choices or, you know, or your decisions that you made. It could be like maybe just from a family's perspective or like background problem or something like that. You just have to persist, you know. You have to persist, even if like you have to find a part-time job if you don't get it or you have to drop out first, just remember like that you have to go back and complete it. You have to go back. It might take you 10 years or 15 years, yeah, like whatever, it doesn't matter. But like remember that like, yeah, you gotta go complete that loose end, you know, like, and there's a certain satisfaction to it. So much that, you know, after you are done with it, whether you use it or not, that's a complete different topic. But there's like closure, and there's you know, completeness and wholeness once you've gone back and you just completed that 2-3 modules that are outstanding, or even a year, you know what I mean? So that's like the word of advice that I'd give to anybody who's in that circumstance. And I know a lot of people that dropped out, and like some just left it and forgot it, and like they got a job now, because it builds up the frustration as well, you know, like if, yeah, and people get depressed and they get miserable. You're like, yo, I had a good start, but then I couldn't really complete it. Now I'm like stuck here, like, you know, in a job you don't like, or you are not earning enough, you know. But just don't forget the goal, like, you know, save up for it, communicate with those people, tell them like, yeah, there's always like, because even when I went back to varsity, I didn't really have all the money that they needed, but I kind of negotiated with them. Yo, guys, I got so much, I want to finish this off, but like I can only pay you, like, you know, as we go. And they'll understand, because they see that, like, you know, it forms part of like their good record to have more graduates than dropouts. So keep in touch with those people, yeah, and like, yeah, just make sure you get it done. That's what I would say to anybody in that, you know, state right now.
Okay. You then spoke about your detour and passion in slam poetry and writing and the arts, and also music, I believe. So
yeah,
that, I believe, was the source of how the book became a reality, right? So how did you discover that outside of finding slam poetry in varsity as maybe a detour to your frustration of academics are not panning out, you've got a language barrier that is really causing you to not continue as you would like in your academics? So outside of that, what do you feel drew you to poetry and writing and the arts?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's actually always been a part of me, you know. I've been a writer for as long as I can remember, like, to be honest, and I've never really acknowledged it or taken ownership of it, or like, you know, embraced it as much as I should have. But I've always been good, like that goes like, yo, I've been told multiple times, I've been recommended multiple times, you know, and given a pat on the back multiple times, but like it's always been in me, you know, like, and ever since a young grade, like I remember whenever we were writing essays at school, you know, my teachers would just like, yo, call me to the side and just tell me, yo, man, you're a writer. You know what I mean? I'll never forget that. Like I think I was in grade 4 or something, and then he just told you like, you're a writer, man. You know what I mean? Yeah. So since then, even when I was like, different encounters with different people, like I'd get feedback with regards to my writing, even varsity, like, you know, and I've always been passionate about it. It was like always my best means of expression, really, you know. And so for me to actually get that light ignited, it started when I was like at Stellenbosch, really, like on my first year they used to host these poetry sessions. And I used to hang out with this guy, Kamal. He's from Ghana, so that guy used to write poetry, and it used to fascinate me, like, yo, man, you wrote this, he wrote this, you know. Then like, yeah, because I'd read it and I'd be like, yo, this is so like deep, it's so intense. I couldn't believe I was sitting with the guy who wrote it, and to be honest, he's the one who showed me that it was possible. So this other day he invites me to a poetry session. We go there, and while we were there, he actually goes and perform, like, you know, like in front of a crowd, and he was like reading from a paper. He was like, you know, stuttering in between. I was like, man, I'm sure I can do this as well, you know, like. So when I went back home, I started to scribble, write, and, you know, like just come up with a concept. And like I remember I did this piece That was like actually my first, like, because I was writing it, I started to envision myself performing. Like, that's the first thing. I'm like, yo, I gotta go perform. I'm gonna write because they hosted them every month, you know. So I'm like, next month I'm gonna. And then I wrote this other piece, like, yeah, hamster wheel. And yeah, man, hamster wheel, that's always close to my heart. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, because I was going in hamster wheel, hamster wheel. I keep on moving in circles like a hamster wheel. These trials and tribulations come with mass appeal. I feel the heat as I long to hold on to this grill. It's a
Come on.
constant routine. My life, a stable rotation, a hamster wheel. But the conscience in my conscience invoked its consciousness. So me walking around consciously is as typical as seeing a bull wearing khaki shorts and boots. We never had the fruits. So can we be blamed for not being fruitful? I was dry all summer, stuck in the garden. Wait, that did not come out right. Said I was like Osama bin Laden because I had so much to share, but there was no vent from a place of hiding. Because I'm stuck in this hamster wheel, hamster wheel. I keep on moving in circles like a hamster wheel. These trials and tribulations come with mass appeal. I feel the heat as I long to hold on to this grill. It's a constant routine. My life, a stable rotation, a hamster wheel. The present is so grumpy, but the future has got a smile on its face. Isn't that sarcasm? But we all know that even the first penetration is painful but leads to great pleasure. Isn't that orgasm? So I'm guessing that every crux, every point of difficulty is embedded with a cue for us to extract in order to break free from life's ferocious cycle of a hamster wheel. Yeah, so that was the first piece. So yeah, I'll never forget that. I stayed up the whole night.
Wow.
Yeah, so I actually I remember, man. I set up the whole night just writing that, and then like, yeah, the next session I could not wait because I rehearsed it so much in my head because I've always loved you know, hip hop as well, you know. So I would rap to other people's lyrics and try to write my own songs whenever. And so the art of, like, you know, performing and reciting has always been with me as well. So like after that, like, yeah, I just went to the next session and I put my name onto the open mic. I went in, rehearsed hamster wheel. Yo, everybody was just like crazy. I'll never forget that, you know, when I was looking out from stage and like, yo, I was like, yeah, I want to do this. So yeah, like, so that's how it actually began. That's how the fire was ignited. And like also just to see that, yo, you can actually, you can write, you know what I mean? So before it turned into a book, it started off as like, yeah, those kind of like, you know, free flow poetry, and then it developed into a few articles, and then from there I was like, yo, I need to, you know, just put this into like my own story and write a book, you know, about it. And the way that I wrote about it was like I actually was writing it as a movie, you know what I mean? I was not writing it like, yo, yeah, that's the thing. I was writing it like I'm watching myself, like, you know, even though it was in first person, I was like watching myself like on screen, like, yeah, writing that thing, walking there. Like that's why I got into like so much feeling about it, because even the whole concept was just visual arts, motion picture, you know what I mean? And I wasn't just writing it as a, you know, book or like that. Like, yeah, it just started off as a book, but the whole big thing is just to make it like, yeah, a motion picture. So that's why I kind of like saw myself like, yeah, living this whole thing. And that's how it developed, like, to be honest.
Wow. Well, world, take notice. This is the first
Yeah.
time Divhani told the world that his book was in motion picture. So when it does become a motion picture, you would have announced it and they would have heard it here first, that you are creating a motion.
Yeah, it was there, certainly.
I think what also fascinated me about your book was the acknowledgement section. You start with God. And
Yeah.
that was very important for me because it gave me an indication of what has preeminence in your life. And also in later chapters, you talk about feeling distant and not being close to God and needing to reconnect and rebuild that relationship. So I think as young people, there's that temptation to not be so, you know, I don't know, participating in your faith and being churchy, if I can put it that way. So as a young person, I believe then it comes from your background as to how you were raised. But how do you find your relationships as you grow and as you become a young adult? How do you interact with your peers about your faith?
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. So to be honest, yeah, I had to give credit where it's due, you know. Like for the longest of time, I tried to do this to make it self-made, you know. Like I feel that was like the difference between before and after when it comes to me. Like I was trying to do this whole book by myself, and whenever I thought, oh yeah, it's right to its apex, it just crumbled down, you know. Until I had to be godly led, and it had to be God made, honestly, and that's when it came. It became what it is today because of that. So yeah, I was raised in a background of, like, you know, Christianity. My mom used to be the teacher at the Sunday school. My dad would get, like, you know, MC at the church. Like, yeah, he was there, they were active, you know, like, and he'd preach, like, at home. Yeah, I'll call you for prayer, you know, like every day, like 8 o'clock, yeah, at night. You don't sleep before you go pray. Even if you try to sneak away, whatever, they'll come wake you up, that type of thing. So, like, yeah, I kind of, like, you know, I was brought up on that, and until I left home and got exposed to different perspectives, different beliefs, you know, different types of, like, doing things, then I kind of, like, drifted away from my belief. I guess it wasn't really concrete enough at that time, you know. I was still confused. I was still trying to be, like, out there. But then once, like, my plans with the book crumbled and I had to go back home, and I had not been at home for 5 years, like, and like the whole thing just crumbled before me, like, you know, my whole plans, my whole ideas, and then it didn't work out the way that I had anticipated. So, and at the time, I like left, like, my job to actually just focus on this transition, you know, like work with my publisher and then just focus on it 100%. But then she also went MIA, you know, in the midst of everything, and yeah, like, and then yeah, I was trying to reach out to her, like I didn't hear from her anymore, and for over 2 months, like while I was still in Johannesburg. So I was like, I'm running out of money, I need to go home. And when I went home, it was like, I remember 2019 around May, and that's when I actually stayed there for. I had to go face all the talks. Oh, he's back. Oh, he's been, you know, like, he didn't make this and that, whatever. I was like, I'll face it, man. Let me just go back, you know. And then when I went back home, I just went straight back to basics, you know. And I had to reconnect with my childhood. I had to return to that innocence. You know, this is your home. Don't be running around trying to stay astray from it, you know, because I had gotten to a point where I didn't love it anymore, you know, because I felt like people they don't get me, they, you know, like, talks this and that. So I went back there, and then I had to face it. It was not by choice, you know. Like, for me, I wanted to go back there, like, stunning, like, big car, whatever, I made it. But I had to go back there with, like, you know, my tail between my legs with nothing, you know, really. And yeah, just to really, like, face it and, you know, feel the impact of that, of being humbled, you know. And I was really humbled. And so I started to go back to basics, and, you know, like, the whole concept of, like, praying with the family every day, and like going to a local church. And I remember, like, while I was there, the sermon that I really, like, it stuck with me. This pastor was like, you need to silence the accuser, you know. And by the accuser, he was referring to the devil, like, because, you know, he said, like, you keep on, like, bringing up these things of guilt, you know, these words, like, of, like, trying to get you down, like, from the past. You should have, could have, would have, you know, those type of things. It's like, if you gotta silence that and just focus on the godly voice, on the Holy Spirit, whatever. Like, you know, he got into it, like, and that really struck me. And while I was at home, I started to reconnect with God in my own way. Like, I was appreciating the most smallest of things. I was grateful for just seeing a flower sprout, you know, like, just to see an insect or a butterfly, like those type of little things. I was grateful for just, like, like, being able to wake up and breathe and just bask in the sun. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. I was down. I was out, you know, like, my plans crumbled. And through that journey, like, that's when I came up with the title, Like at that time, that's when it came back. Oh, bound. Yeah. While I was walking through the garden, I was home going through that phase. And then what happened is that like my manuscript initially with this publisher was about 100,000 words. And I had to chop it down because now I was looking for another publisher who would charge me less because they charge me per word. So I chopped it down, like all the unnecessary detail. And then it got to like 20,000 words, which is what it is now. And I felt like, it was compact, it's concise, and it still gets the message across very well, and I could now divide it into like two parts, from like those other words instead of like, just pushing it as one big book. So like, and then that's when like, it started to come about. And then out of the blue, I hear from my publisher. And then I told them, like, I'll excuse whatever, like, going MIA, whatever. Let me just focus on getting this thing out. And that's when I actually sent her the new manuscript. We worked on it. She gave me the copies. And like, honestly, like once I actually had the reconnection, like, and just to see things manifest the way that they did, because after that, that's when we actually met, because the December of that year, that's when like I got a call from Chalk, come through, like, for the position. And I was like, oh, okay, I will. Like, that's how like the event unfolded. And that's when I came down, like, I got a book, and you met, and then I gave you that copy. And like, so it actually happened like that. And since then I was like, I was humbled enough. I was now like, I knew where the credit is due.
Yes.
And I knew, like, like what's really important is not only like, materialistic things. There's far beyond, you know what I mean? Like, and you just have to, like, it reignited my purpose, and it just showed me, like, that gratitude will lead you, like, far, and you must always put God first in everything you do. Don't think you're doing it by your own potential. So to get back to the question about how I actually handle it with my peers, I'm not one who imposes what I believe. I feel like everyone has got their own experience. Everyone has got their own relationship with God, or if it's not God, or whatever represents God in their life. So I have friends who are across all religions and different beliefs. And right now, I just feel like I'm deeply rooted in what I believe, to such an extent that I can listen to an atheist speak, and it wouldn't shake me. I can listen to whoever come with their own faith, it wouldn't shake me, But then I'll still be able to share, like, what I believe, if given the platform. But I'm not going to try and impose it on you, because I feel like the best revelation about who to believe and what to believe comes from your own experiences. God will take you through your own experiences for you to get like what you really have to believe in, and nothing beats that. Like, no amount of words can make me assert, like, how or what you should be believing in, more than your own experiences, and God's revelation to you at a precise time. You know what I mean? I mean, I look at people like Paul, like, I mean, he lived until adulthood, like one moment, boom, like lightning, and then your whole life, you change, you become the person to write more books in the Bible. Like, so, like, like that revelation comes with its own time, and God reveals himself. Like, if I have to play a part whereby I'm talking to you now, and then, or you get something out of it, and then you become curious and you ask more questions, so we go, and you still gonna like do your own research, or you feel something or longing because of what I said, then I played my part. That's just how it is. But when I'm sitting with different people, I'm one to assess different energies, and like, like what, like my group, my surrounding, is it really worth bringing up? Like, is it the timing of it? Like, when should I speak about this thing? Is the platform right for me to engage with these people about religion or beliefs? So I don't really force it. I let it happen naturally, but I'll still address what I believe, basically.
Okay, and having have mentioned that you discovered your gift has always been something that and you've been recommended and acknowledged for it, and then now you journeyed through your book, having understood your experiences and how they led you to now come to that point where you are humbled and you are, I think, spiritually in a place where you are able to manifest this book in a different light? Because initially when you started writing it, you were writing it as a memoir of your experiences. But then now that God has come into the picture, you are realizing that this can actually be a kind of testimony to one person or another that helps them understand your journey through life and maybe see a different perspective. Okay.
Yeah. Now, basically, that's you put it like very loud and clear. That's basically what happened. Yeah, it's now like there's a different light that's shed upon it now, than it was at the beginning. Yeah, it's no longer just to try and make monetary, returns out of it as well. It's more like, if you read it and you get something out of it, then I'm happy, man. Like that's like basically what it is, and that's why it's to anyone who can relate. So now the message is different, and I feel like as well, people get that. Like people I've gotten feedback about people who actually get that, like, okay, cool, so this guy went through all this, but at the end he's still acknowledging and he's still feeling a sense of longing or a hollowness, when it comes to that, and he's trying to reconnect. So it must be important, and some people relate to that, and they also feel like, I'm not the only one. I also need to I'm longing for that as well. It inspires, and that's what the book developed into, quite unintentionally. Yeah.
And then how is the writing career going now, and what's next for you?
Yeah. So, the writing career. Yeah. So for now, I'd say what I'm mainly focused on, and I'll put this into perspective, that I was supposed to have launched this book I don't know on how many occasions, but it just didn't work out, and I feel like I'm very grateful that it did not, because it was not ready, and now I had to change the covers, from and to I have better ideas and better visions for it, so I have to change the cover, take my face off this first one, and put a much more better, proper cover, which is enticing enough, it goes with the title as well, so that I didn't want my face out there, so that also putting it out there internationally, people can buy, because they see it's a great book, not just because there's a handsome guy on the cover. But look, so now I'm actually just finalizing my second book. I'm done with the first draft, which is a sequel to Bound, so I'm just trying to give it a break until I get back on editing it, and carrying the concept on. This first one is Bound in My Own Chains. The second one is Bound and the Chain Breaker. That's when I met the Chain Breaker, and then now it's and then I don't want to take you quite ahead of time, but then there's also a Bound 3, which is the Broken Chains. So it's a whole lot
trilogy.
of it's basically, and then that will be you gotta complete it in threes, man. You can't just leave it hanging.
Come on.
But
Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Yes.
Yeah, something like that. But so with this writing journey, I feel it's only beginning. It's only beginning, and I'm more confident in it than I've ever been. I'm enjoying it more than I've ever been, because even if I'm not writing, I'm visualizing it, I'm meditating on it, I'm praying on it. I'm thinking about it. I'm planning on launching these books, God willing, in August, on my birthday. I like to launch them on my website, and as well as just to actually get a distribution on Amazon, Take a Lot as well, and other retail book online stores, and then 10 an ebook as well. And then so it's actually going to be available, and I'm going to have a number of pages on social media, just coming up with a effective digital marketing strategy to actually get it out there, get the SEOs ready so that you can search for it and then just find it right there at the top. So I'm right now, I'm just collecting a whole lot of knowledge in that regard, and which is why I'm grateful I didn't really just jump on it and launch it like with that edge of like, yo, just trying to make a quick buck. Now I'm trying to make it as timeless as I can and as proper as I can, and well thought of, no rush, patience, and as godly led as I can, because I feel like it can go a long way if I don't rush it and if I invest fully into it. So yeah, that's basically like the idea of it. So like another thing what's to come is to actually, it's gonna be a household name. Like, this has to become a publishing company, so like, yeah, I'm gonna be calling it Bound Publishers, and I'm gonna be helping upcoming writers to actually publish or self-publish rather, like their own books. They'll send it like to me on the website, and then like I'll review it, I'll edit or proofread, and then take them through the publishing process and help them publish the stories. And also like, just to tap into another niche of like writing stories for people that cannot write. I know like everybody's got a story. I've chilled with like people around like my home, like everywhere, who got awesome, amazing stories when they tell them, and I'm just like, yo, man, I could write that in a book, So I'll be like, reaching out to those, like, and then just offer that like incentive where I write for them, and then we discuss the other benefits from it as well, and then like help them publish, So just to make it a household name, and you'll still see like there's gonna be like definitely like merchandise, clothing merchandise coming too as well, like as in Bound is like what I'm saying, it's a household name, and like this like took form by me not rushing it, by me taking my time with it, and like what I said, man, it's just like, it's the whole journey has been godly, like and it's a matter of just being still and knowing that like everything else will fall into place, everything else will manifest at its own time, at a godly set time. I just gotta play my part. If it doesn't go according to my plan, I know that it's his will, so that's what like they still like quite a number of upcoming events from me that you guys will definitely see.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that, because next I just want you to share your details so that you can so that people who want to purchase the book can be able to get in touch with you, and maybe all the avenues through which it is available currently, even though you're working on other platforms where you want to make it available. You can share your details.
Oh, okay. All right. For now, like if you want the book, like man, but I didn't want to like get it out there now. Like, well, I know I have to. I didn't want to like get it out there now without like the proper like like having everything in place. But if anybody wants the book right now, they can just hit me up on email or on WhatsApp, because the website hasn't launched yet. There's still a few strings that we're connecting. I also pulled off from like social media pages until like everything was set to the new covers and all of that, because I want to launch both books at the same time. So like that was the whole plan. But anybody can reach out to me for more information on email, which is Mulaudzi Divhani, my last name and my first name, at gmail.com, or they can just catch me on 071-131-9892. That's my WhatsApp line. And but more information will definitely come out closer to the time. We're going to have a very strong and effective marketing campaign closer to the date. But August the 13th, the book will be available on all platforms, and definitely you guys will be seeing the book, everywhere, like everywhere. I'll fly a plane from Cape Town to Joburg with a big banner if I have to. But yeah, like it's no, just kidding, man. But it's definitely gonna be on all platforms closer to the time. But yeah, definitely like August the 13th. That's when I'll be launching both books, and they should be available on the website. As well as, like on other, bigger retail for books as well.
Okay, awesome. This has been really fantastic. Thank you so much for your time and sharing about your publishing experience, your writing experience, and I really wish you everything of the very best with Bound 2. I am so glad I have my copy with your handsome face of
Awesome.
Bound 1.
Yeah, those are the
Yeah.
exclusive. Those are the exclusive
Yes,
ones, man.
and it happens to be signed. So I'm really, I feel very privileged to have a copy of your book. But I wish you everything of the very best. Like I said, I trust that you will experience great and immense success in your writing career, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you when you release your second book.
Most definitely. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah.
Okay, but thank you
Yeah,
so
that's
much.
gonna be.
Stephen King once said that books are a uniquely portable kind of magic. After hearing Divhani's story, I am encouraged and I am also inspired that wherever you are in your writing journey, whether you are young or you are old, if you have a story that you'd like to tell and you have a story that you want to share with the world, be it your own story or be it a fiction that is something that has come out of your imagination and you want to make it come to life, now is the time. Now is the time for you to put pen to paper, for you to start writing your story and be able to share it with the world and leave that as your own sort of legacy. But that is it for this week's show. I would like to leave you with a bit of poetic inspiration. This poem was written by Rudy Francisco. He is an American poet. This poem was performed at a slam poetry final, and I believe he won that competition. But it's titled Complainers, and I think in some way you will find encouragement, but you will also be awakened or rudely awakened to some of the things that we are complacent about in everyday life. But thank you so much for tuning into this show. I trust you will have a fruitful week until I catch you again next week.